to order the Sign Control Board meeting of the Board of Adjustments for 6:30 on June 5th, 2023. We'll do a roll call of the board.
Palacios.
Present.
Lancaster.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Vasquez.
Here.
Rodriguez.
All right, we'll have a citizen comment period. Sign Control Board welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of the Sign Control Board meetings. Those wishing to speak are encouraged to sign in before the meeting starts. Speakers may be provided with an opportunity to speak during this time period. Anybody signed up today?
No.
Okay, Marino will sit in comments. We'll move on to the action item. Consider request for an exception to our sign code, Chapter 29 of the city's Code of Ordinances, to exceed the maximum square footage of signage allowed for the front facade of the Academy Sports and Outdoors building. Maximum square footage permitted by code for this facade is 290 square feet. The applicant seeks an exception to allow 468.62 square feet of signage on the front facade. And we'll open public hearing. Okay, seeing there's no signers or wishers to speak on that, we'll move on to the, we'll close the public hearing and move on to the city's presentation.
Sharp, City Planner for the record. So tonight we have a request for an exception to our sign code, which is Chapter 29 of the Code of Ordinances. This kind of shows you the location. It's 5755 Kyle Parkway, Suite 200. And this is for the Academy Sports and Outdoors that should be opening fairly soon. So just an overview of the request. The section of code that's applicable to this request is section 29-16, subsection G, subsection 1, wall signs for this location. It falls under the commercial entities not located along a state highway, which is generally based on address and street frontage. So this does not fall under the state highway category. Per the code, the maximum allowed square footage for this front facade is 290 square feet, which is based on the length of the facade, which is a little over 193 feet long. And the applicant is seeking an exception to the code to allow, I misspoke in that memo, it's actually 454.32 square feet for wall signs on the front facade. So this is the criteria for granting exceptions per our code. There is also a sheet in front of you that has all of these exceptions as well as the proof provided by the applicant. Per the code, the applicant bears the burden of proof. And so that list that they have provided is available in front of you if you need to review it. And then looking at the sign plan, the top image is the sign plan with the exception applied. That's the roughly 454 square feet of signage. And then they also provided a code compliant sign plan, which is the bottom image, and that is about 258 square feet. So, any questions for me? We also have a representative here as well if you'll have any questions for them.
No.
Hi there, how's it going today? My name is David Michael and I'm from Site Enhancement Services, and we handle all of the exterior branding and site visibility concerns for Academy Sports and Outdoors. We're located in South Bend, Indiana, but we travel the country to ensure that Academy Sports and Outdoors locations are visible, consistent, and appropriate within the built environment. Like Kayla said, we're talking about 5755 Kyle Parkway, Suite 200. It's just east of the Lowe's and the Hobby Lobby, as I'm learning. His site is zoned RS Retail Services, and I'm here today to respectfully request modification to the wall signage square footage allowed for this site. Instead of going over what the code says, because that's already been done, we're going to be requesting 164 square feet more than what's allowed for this site. And we came to this conclusion after doing a photo survey of the site. We took pictures from all of the approaches from I-35, Kyle Parkway, traveling the village at Kyle, and we noticed that as far as wayfinding goes, this site is kind of sunken into the village at Kyle a little bit compared to the other bigger box stores. And there's a freestanding sign off of I-35, which I saw coming in today, and we have a tenant panel on there, so it's kind of like 10% of the sign, and it's really only useful coming when you're traveling southbound on I-35, and you still have to take a couple extra turns over the freeway and everything to get there. So why we're here today is just to make sure that Academy Sports and Outdoors has strong front facade signage so that motorists traveling the corridor can easily find the building they're looking for without having to scan the environment unnecessarily. Give a little more detail about the site. It's set back 835 feet from Kyle Parkway, and as the code only allows for 10% of the first 15 feet of the building, our building's currently at 42 feet and 4 inches tall, with a square footage of 7,098 square feet for the front facade. 710 square feet would be 10% of that building, and we're requesting 6.4% of the front facade for signage, just for a little context there. So I'd like to just state again that the freestanding sign, it is nice to have that off the highway just to let people know that, hey, there's an Academy Sports and Outdoors here, but as far as getting off of the highway or the frontage road and approaching the store, there's no real good way to identify the building without kind of hopefully running into it. So and part of our sign package here, you can see in the variance art that I provided today on page 3, you can see that there are some ancillary signs on the building. It says apparel, shoes, hunting, and fishing. We find that it's very necessary to have these signs as opposed to our code compliant option without those signs. Each Academy Sports and Outdoors services their community in different ways depending on the demographic. So you'll see different verbiage up there in different cities, and they like to kind of cater to where they're located. So it's important for Academy Sports and Outdoors to have those signs, and then also to have the larger front facade sign to kind of give motorists a better chance of identifying the building from Kyle Parkway. And if you turn back a page, you can see that we've kind of drawn out with these yellow arrows. These are all the approaches that you can get to the site. And sign P, you can see it kind of top left there. That's where the freestanding sign is. So as you can see, if you're driving north on I-35, you're already past the site when you see the sign. And when you're driving south, you'll see it, but then again, you follow that yellow line, you have to make 2 turns. That's through multiple stoplights. And again, there's businesses and vegetation in front of the building, so there's no real good way to find that spot without the front signage being a little more prominent and able to be seen with that increased letter height. So if you guys have any questions, that is my presentation. I'd like to hear them if you have any. Yeah.
Your microphone's on?
So the apparel, shoes, those signs are gonna be larger as well?
No, so
Those are within the code?
they see here they're only 14 square feet, 13, 12, and 10.
Okay,
So they take up less than 10% of the signage that
Gotcha.
we're requesting today. So that's kind of the important part of this request here. We'd like to notify people in the corridor that that's what you can find inside. We do have some drop-down options for the main sign as well. We're just looking for any type of relief that you guys would be willing to give us to help the people going through this area help find that site a little easier.
I have a question for the city, I guess. The other businesses in the neighboring vicinity, do they have the similar square footage in signs?
So, if they do not fall on a state highway, they fall under the same classification for the 10% of the building facade for the first 15 in height. They all have to follow that same rule. And so all of the businesses within that area have followed that section of code as well.
And I would like to just follow up by saying a lot of the businesses in that area also do have a freestanding sign, nearby, as opposed to the Academy where it's just kind of off by the highway. Doesn't really lead you to the site at all, where a lot of the Walgreens, Lowe's, they have signs visible by their entrances. So that's why we're here today, just so we can kind of get the same type of signage as far as being identifiable in the area.
And there weren't any other of the monument signs out along the access road that was available to you? to use?
So unfortunately, I wasn't a part of getting the tenant panel on the freestanding sign, but I'm assuming that, as I know, Academy Sports and Outdoors, they would absolutely have tried to get one closer. I'm assuming that they were not able to get a tenant panel on a nearer sign. It looks like they were all filled up.
Serve on the tenant panel?
Yep.
And there aren't any tenant panels that actually are on the Bunton, Kohler's Crossing, or Kyle Parkway Street, so basically, it's the building itself is what tells you, hey, we're here.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess I'm still a little bit confused on the C, D, E, and F as well. Maybe I wasn't listening close enough.
Yeah.
But are those part of the, like, one big exception request? Or are they bundled together with the big sign, or are they separate issues, and these are 5 different variances?
So in the code compliance sign that they, sign plan that they provided, the ancillary signs, the apparel, shoes, hunting, fishing are not included in the sign plan at all. In the exception request, that's part of the exception. They're seeking an exception to allow for more square footage, which would allow them to add those signs in.
And the main understanding about the sign ordinances is that if you're not on a state highway, the state regulates signage along the freeways. And so this sign ordinance really covers everything that's away from
Right.
the main road. I think, from my perspective in looking at the design plans, is that the setback is the real issue for the property. And it's so far away from even the crossing streets. It's far away from the access road. It's far away from the road that you would normally go on to go to the hospital. It's really, really far away. So when you look at that sign, perceptively, it doesn't actually look extra large because it's so far away from the roadway.
Yeah, and this group sign, also, you don't have the right of access on there, but there is a little road that you can turn right after that sign from that 535 access. That'll lead to the back of your property, around the tire shop.
Yeah,
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, but it's not a way that folks like to go.
right.
It's a
Yeah.
left turn.
Yeah.
And that's actually where his monument sign
Correct.
is located. It's literally already getting ready to cross the little estuary there, and
It's,
you're away from the shopping center at that point.
it's a destination location. Right.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do. So, just to clarify, there are no, all the others businesses in this same situation, they all follow the signage? Yes, no?
To my knowledge, the same rule applies, and we have not had any requests for exceptions on those. They've all followed the sign code.
Okay, the setback, it was a known factor when they purchased the property.
Right.
And you don't know if they could have explored adding a pole
I
with a
can
sign.
I have an educated guess that they would have tried to get a closer freestanding sign tenant panel. That's why they were really trying to push for this front facade signage, because there's no real way to tell where Academy Sports and Outdoors is off of that freestanding sign. It just lets you know it's within that shopping center, which is on both sides of Kyle Parkway, and kind of, like you said, set back 800 feet behind the Walgreens, behind some vegetation, and set back from I-35 as well.
Okay. And the sign ordinance actually would restrict those extra wordings because it's the total,
It's a
it's the
total.
total amount of facing, so that's one of the reasons why the variance is requested the way it is, so those little extra little words, even though they're like 13, what's like 13,
They're
Square
like an
feet
average
each
of
one, so they're
12 or
actually very
11 square
small.
feet, yeah.
but that does add to the total of the limits that were written into the original ordinance. I don't think when we wrote the ordinance at the beginning that we thought about setbacks being as deep as this one, when we were planning. 'Cause again, the parking on this is all the way in the front of the building, which pushes it very, very, very far away from the property. I mean, that's, in my mind, that's the unique condition of the property, is that the setback of the building itself is so far away from the street that that would be my mindfulness of giving an exception on this rule.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't have that shot where you show the proposed exception with the sign that's within the code. You had, I think you had a shot of that in your PowerPoint, but to me, the one that is with the granted exception looks more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if you can put that up so the folks can look at it again, but just looking at it, it looks squished down when it's within ordinance. I don't know if that's intentional or manipulated, but it's just how it appeared to
No,
me.
absolutely not. That was, if that's the sign we were gonna go with, that's where Academy believes it would fit best and look best. There's another point too, the Academy, on both options, the letter height is fine, but the entire logo, the sports and outdoors, in the code compliant version, that sports and outdoors is gonna be tough to read. Just as far as letter height goes, it's gonna be a very small font from that distance off of Kyle Parkway.
To help your case, can you tell us, there is size, a certain height or dimension of the letters, and you can see them from a distance, and that's what your diagram over here with the yellow cone depicts. This is
Yeah.
as far as it can be seen.
So, not necessarily how far it can be seen, but just kind of like the angle of where it can be legible from. So,
Legible
if
from.
you follow these angles out, I'm sure you could still see it, but then it's just also illustrating the buildings that are also in the way.
But there is a size ratio where the letter is so tall, and a letter that is so tall is legible from a certain distance.
Right.
What is that distance with the letters that are within regulation and the ones that you are requesting?
So these are the most appropriate,
But I'm asking
Letter
for
heights.
that distance. There's a distance. There's a ratio between the font
right,
height.
yeah, and I'm not familiar with that right off the top of my head, but in proposing this, we're not going for additional advertising signage or anything like that. It's simply just to be identifiable. So I did not put that together and do the studies on what letter height would be appropriate, but my art department did do that. And with the 800-foot setback, we have certain sign standards. I believe we have 6 different sizes for these signs, depending on the setback, and this is the one that we landed on. We actually do have 1 or 2 larger options as well. But this is the one that we had come to a conclusion that this would fit the building the best in this location.
My last question, if we approve one, we approve all?
No.
There is no an alternate to approving just one?
No, each petitioner would have to come forward, just like it would be during Board of Adjustments, and present the uniqueness of their case.
No, I mean, for Academy, if we approve this alternate, we're approving the 5 signs that are on this.
That's
not-
correct.
There is no option for us to approve the big one only.
What we would be doing is giving, according to their petition request, we would be giving them enough square footage on the front of their building that would include
Yeah.
the 3 or the 4 smaller identifiers, descriptors that are, hunting, fishing, I guess whatever the other ones were.
Shoes and
apparel,
apparel,
shoes. And then, the larger portion of the main sign. And if you look at the academies that are down in, I think it's San Marcos,
South Austin.
has the same thing. To not have those would make it a little bit less. If you look at like Cabela's, they could technically go out there and put banners up and hang banners on their building on a temporary basis, and do the exact same thing. Because there's temporary banner requirements. All they do is take them down for 30 days and then go back and put them up again. In this case, you have a more aesthetically pleasing, viewpoint
Letters.
with a fixed view. When we wrote the sign ordinance, we never really envisioned anything other than like HEB being in the area. We never thought our community would grow to this size that it was, so we didn't actually plan for big box stores to come in and be as present as they are. So I think, it wouldn't be an issue at all that they'd be requesting, other than probably they'd be asking for the apparel, shoes, and hunting and fishing additions. If their building was closer to the roadway itself, they wouldn't need to have the extended, faceplate that's up there. My view is, having been in, commercial restauranting, I remember when the McDonald's first petitioned, they asked to be able to set a giant M on top of one of the marquees, so it would reach all the way back up the road where the actual exit was. So you could actually, before you turned off that exit, you would actually be able to see the golden arcs. The city turned that one down, and we never got the McDonald's there. And then this whole development across the highway never developed because there was no visibility for that intersection where the exit is. And now that exit is actually all the way down at Yarrington Road. So you don't even know you're at the city of Kyle before have to get off to get onto that exit. So having, signage visibility for commerce is important for them to be able to draw the business that we need to have. And, Academy's like a Walmart or a Target, or, it's one of those signature kind of businesses that draw and attract people from outside your community to go there. And so you have to give them at least some consideration from a commerce perspective to be able to display their products. And since there is no monument sign, and those monuments were actually established by the city and not by the developer. of that property. The city actually said you can only have so many of these freestanding monuments along the frontage of the highway, and those are basically first come, first served selection. They would actually have to hard negotiate with someone who actually holds those positions, and I doubt Lowe's is going to give up top billing for Academy. So they'd be restricted to a smaller marquee underneath the main header. Any other questions?
Yep.
Anything else from the city? Okay, so at this time, we can entertain a motion or discussion on the petitioner's request.
So did you do the first one, or?
So there's discussion that's available at this point in
Okay.
time, and there's also a motion, motions could be made at this point.
Well, let's go ahead, a motion to vote.
Okay. So someone.
Motion
has
to
make-
approve, is that how we do it, or how do you state
You
it?
can make a motion to approve, or you can make a motion to disapprove.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the exception to the, to grant the variance requested.
Okay. And that requires a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the variance request. Any discussions?
Nope.
No discussion.
Okay, no discussion. I'll take a vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Being that there are no other items on the agenda for today, we'll adjourn.
Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. That wasn't too difficult.